Hello, folks, and welcome to That Sunday Show. It's myself, Andrew Stewart, hosting again tonight. I've got the front three back as I missed them, but I'll get into this evening and introduce my other two guests. Calvin, how are you, mate? Just off that AGM chat, how are you feeling?
Aye, a lot better today. 3 wins in the bounce, so we'll take it. Lean into a big week.
A big week, that's one way of saying it. A massive, gigantic, humongous week. But we'll get into that, I'm sure, and across the network this week. Also, as always, Cheryl, thank you for coming on this evening.
Hello, hi guys, how you doing? I think that's the first time we've won away from home back to back since February. So, yep, small improvements. Happy girl.
What is it about Rangers winning that makes us happy? Isn't that a coincidence? Lastly, folks, just before we crack on with today's discussion and some good talking points for once, just want to give a quick thank you to the sponsors you'll see down at the bottom of the screen. Rhino Express, Clivey Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for your support as always. Right, shall we get into it? Some good topics to discuss tonight. We'll start where we always start with that lineup. I'll go through it and we'll get a wee chat about it. Jack Butland in goal, no surprises there. Jeff Day, Leon Balogun, John Souttar, James Tavernier, Nikola Raskin, Yanis Hadji, Connor Barron, Hamza Igaman, Václav Cherny, Danilo. Calvin, Connor Barron coming back into the team, Diamandi dropping out. Were you surprised by that at all? I've got a soft spot for Connor Barron, so I was happy to see him, but some people are a wee bit split on
I'm not surprised because he's one of the first choices we come on this season so far. And as I say, we've got a big week ahead, so need to be careful with the boys. Didn't pick up any injuries or let any tiredness come in. So I don't think it was a bad move and it paid off. We got a 3-0 win, so that's all that mattered.
Cheryl, I was, as I said, surprised, or not surprised, happy to see Connor back in. Maybe surprised, maybe it was Nico that stayed in. Obviously, and we'll get into Nico as a whole. I am just still concerned about him. I want to keep him fit for as long as we can and get the best out of him because obviously with recent showings of last season, he's when he's not match fit or he's injured, it's now we're seeing what we're missing from then. So, were you surprised at all by it with Barron coming in for Dio?
No, I thought that Raskin, obviously, he was man of the match on Wednesday. And I think we spoke about it last week. He's been so stop-start between injuries. So I think actually giving him that long run in the team and keeping him in for as long as possible is doing us a massive benefit. He'll be a huge player for us over the next couple of games. And I thought he was excellent again today.
Yeah, I want to just clarify in case anyone picks me up wrong. I was not asking for Nico to be dropped, for example. I just, if he's not playing, get him wrapped up in bubble wrap, make sure he's okay, give him everything, make sure his pillow is cold on both sides, make sure he's happy, because we'll need him, and he's been superb. Again, I'll talk about our dream team up top. Calvin and Danny and Hamza. I'm trying to think of many better partnerships I can think of, and just two guys that just seem to be on fire at the minute. It's hard because after the Kelly game, I didn't want to go too much onto the hype train, but I can only hold that positivity for so long. I'm well and truly on that hype train now. Have you bought your ticket on it yet, or are you still trying to be on the fence about these two?
Well, I'm definitely on it. I think it's just a big difference. It's the energy that they bring. You can tell it's boys that haven't played because they're just happy about there, and you can see it in their performance. They're trying different things. They're linking up really well. I think that's been the biggest problem we've had. It's been gaps. Like with Essers, he had his chances. He's missed loads of clear chances. But how many times was he isolated? There was like very little support around him. And I think you notice with Igamani and Danilo, and you got Hadji around him and Cherny, you can see all the bodies get in the box, and that's where we're getting the chances from.
Another wee point almost, just as I'm looking through that lineup again, Cheryl, Leon Balogun again in alongside John Souttar. I have absolutely nothing against that pairing. It's just, again, with Nico, I'd like Leon wrapped up in bubble wrap, because I don't need to worry about John. John's made of iron, he'll be fine. He seems to be just being consistent this season, which is superb. But Leon, I know it would be 90 minutes of Robin proper if we were to not use Leon, but I'm again just being conscious of the age, and he's thinking back to the Kelly game. He got into a couple of aerial battles which he came out in the worst end of. You may be surprised. Again, I'd rather not have sitting through 90 minutes, but maybe another player you could have maybe rested today.
Do you know what? I don't think so, because actually, believe it or not, I prepared for this, and I had twice in the first half a couple of the challenges that he made were absolutely crucial. And I think second to myself, he is the next person I would put in some kind of like cryogenic time machine that could take 10 years off him. Because if we had him, I don't know, in his mid-20s, God, it's incredible. But even for his age, we know we're going to need to manage the number of games that he's playing. But I thought he was, if not my man of the match today, certainly there was a good shout for him, particularly in the first half as well. And he's zipping about there like a guy that is 10 years younger than he is. But you're right, Andy, we need to be really, really careful for him. I don't know what you guys think in terms of, I'll maybe jump ahead slightly, but that team maybe minus Tav for the cup final, I would like to see Balogun definitely alongside Suter next Sunday.
Yeah, Calvin, I'll let you in on that first.
Yeah, I agree. It's Balogun's recovery pace that's a big thing. So when the ball gets in behind and Kyogo's great at just getting that wee yardie pace, Balogun's very good at covering in. If he misses the first tackle, he tends to get back in really well and makes a crucial challenge. So proper, I'm not convinced on him at all. I think he's poor, doesn't show the strength of a centre-back, decision-making's a bit all over the place, whereas I think Balogun and Suter are just nice and steady. You'll get good performance every week. So it's they two for me.
I'm in the same boat. It's just weird, this kind of last two games where we're talking about a team and saying, do you maybe rest such and such? And you go, it's mostly because of just how bad our injury record is. I think we would do so little in terms of changing the squad, if not for the fact that we have players who we have seen have injury records. That's the only thing that concerns me at the minute. But I think we've turned a page. But I'm not going to, like I said, jump too far ahead. I'm not giving my end of season predictions, for goodness sake. But yeah, I'm happy. I'll say that I'm happy. Let's get into the actual ins and outs of the 90 minutes that were played then, and it didn't take too long for Rangers to get us out of our seats. Hamza, our main man again, it was at Morocco clock. It certainly was on the 6th minute. Calvin, I don't know. I had it down as early goal and also shocking camera angle from just the sky coverage of. I don't know what it is. It's obviously just the single tier stand, and there's nothing North County can do about it. It's just that the way that shot comes off Hamza's foot, the slight deflection. I thought it was sailing over the bar until it dropped, the net bulged, and everybody went into pandemonium behind the goal. What was your take on the early strike from our main man?
Yeah, it was a great strike. I'm still not convinced of a deflection. I'm giving him the clean strike all the way. Because, as you said, the camera angle wasn't great, so I'm giving it to him. And the dip came down quick. It was quite unexpected, like you said. It looked like it was going about 15 yards over, and that instant dip. It's just the way he's connected with it, so it's been perfect strike.
Yeah, it's an early goal, Sheryl. I know I was looking back thinking, we don't really score early, apart from I think Dessers and the 1-0 against Hearts. Which I was actually funnily enough there. I think I would have remembered that one actually. But it's something that I think we know how away games have been in recent history with Rangers and this season, to be exact, where an early goal is the perfect antidote to any pre-match nerves that we have with our tendency to not take the game to teams. I think it's a home and away thing as well. An early goal definitely settles the nerves, but I think away from home for us in particular, it was the perfect way to start for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I said at the beginning that it's quite unbelievable that that's the first time since February that we've won back-to-back games away from home. It's actually quite ridiculous when you think about it. And without stating the obvious, yep, that early goal was brilliant, but to then the second goal, because we know the kind of scar tissue that we have from this season, the amount of games that we've won by one goal, or we've won 1-0, and then you're sitting back and you're waiting for teams to come at you and then make a defensive mistake. So I think particularly today, that second goal, Andy, was absolutely crucial, because I think when you're watching it, obviously it's different, you're nervous, you're on edge, it's away from home. We've seen what happened the last time we were up there away from home. But I think at no point did we look. There was a wee period maybe after that goal, towards the sort of middle to end of the first half, where to say they were back in the game, but Ross County grew into it a wee bit more. So to be able to go on and get that second goal was crucial. And it was nice. It was actually pleasant. It then became a pleasant watch. It was nice. You could see the pressure off the players as well. So that second goal was a huge bonus.
You've teed me up perfectly for it. That second goal coming in the 37th minute from the 6 million Brazilian. A goal similar to Alfie's goal way back when, putting the pressure on the goalie, and he's got his reward for his work rate, because Calvin, I was, up until having to be subjected to serial dessers after serial dessers after serial dessers, I was thinking to myself, where does Danny actually fit into this team? How are we going to see the best of him? Because that £6 million price tag is the main thing I was worrying about after being out for so long, is our player trading model and how we would make any money back on him potentially. But not to get ahead of myself, I don't think we're going to have to do too much worrying about it, touch wood, from now on in. Just that work rate himself. I know two completely different strikers between Sheryl and Danny. A lot more mobile, a lot more intricate on the ball, and I think that work rate is probably his best feature, and it's one that we probably wouldn't see a lot of unless he gets rewarded for things like this. I think you need to keep an eye out on what he does off the ball to really understand and appreciate what he brings to the team, and he's got his just rewards for that today, Calvin.
Yeah, I like the partnership with Igaman, because if you notice it, Igaman floats out to the left and Nilo's drop him into the 10. Everybody's on the move, and that makes defenders question everything that's going on. Whereas when it was Dessers, it was, he'll pick him up inside the box at some point. He won't really get involved too much elsewhere. And I think when you're playing with one up front, and we're not really playing just one up front anymore, after me saying we didn't have the personnel for a 4-4-2 last week. So it's working really well. The partnership's going in, they're interchanging, they're floating into different positions. You see Hadji drifting over to the right. Cherny's the one that kind of stays in his position, but you need that somebody that just holds the fort. Whereas they three tend to link around and shift around the park, which is a nice thing to watch.
Again, just I want to bring up just a quick one. Scoring more than one goal away from home is a bonus. It definitely is. I mean, scoring more than one goal has been a thing all season, but especially, as we said earlier, in these games where we're away from Ibrox, it is a must. And yeah, we did that today, and not only did we get the two before half time, a late third from James Tav, the skipper. My football app that has him down as man of the match. I'm interested to hear your takes on the man of the match later on today, but it's been a nice resurgence from Tav. I'm not going to lie to you and say this is what he's going to do from now until the end of the season, because a few weeks ago I can't remember off the top of my head, but I would, going off how I felt a few weeks ago, I probably would have said somewhere that I didn't see him playing much until the end of the season. So do not contradict myself and be a hypocrite. I'm not going to say he's on a flaming piece of form, he's untouchable. I'm not going to say that, but Gerald, we have to appreciate what he's done in the last couple of games. He's been with a couple of clean sheets. He's doing the defensive side of the game and also chipping in goals, assists here and there. It's an added bonus.
Yeah, I think, do you know what? That's one of the things that we can in recent times point to Clement doing very, very well. I think his resting of him has been the making of him. I think he was playing very, very poorly. He wasn't offering. There was the odd assist. I think he scored a penalty earlier in the season, but other than that, defensively he looked very poor, and he wasn't a threat pushing up either. So I think the resting of him has done two things. It's obviously given him that break as well, but I think it's maybe kind of showed him as well that he's not always going to be an automatic starter, captain or not. And I think it's been great for the whole team. That said, if he starts next week, I will riot. So for me, just he cannot be anywhere near the team. We know that Maeda loves playing against him. We know how much joy he has against Tav as well. And barring injury, I know sometimes it works bringing him on later on the game, but he shouldn't start. As much as Andy, yep, he was decent on Wednesday and he played well today as well. I think Sunday he should be nowhere near that team.
Well, I'll not jump too far ahead to that game on Sunday. Obviously, is the flagship show on Monday. I'm sure we'll discuss all things Thursday to Sunday and those two massive games. But I take on board that as two huge games and quite close as we know the schedule is ruthless. But Thursday night, Calvin, I don't know. I can see Tav playing. I think having Douche giving him an extra bit of rest. Obviously, the whole shenanigans around his wee knock he had. And it's the kind of weighing up free hit, not free hit, but he's your captain at the end of the day. I think I can see him leading us out against Tottenham. Are you in a similar thinking?
Yeah, I think Spurs is the game for me to play anyway, because I think if you're going to get 90 minutes out of Sterling or whatever he can give you, you want it on Sunday, because we've seen what happens with Tav against Maeda. He's got the fear in it. Maeda's maybe just knows he's got the beating of him, and he's just the pace. It's hard to deal with. We all know Tav's probably lost about a yard to probably 3 this year. Missed his pre-season, went for his operation. All these things add up, plus the sheer amount of games that he's played. So if we can get him in Thursday and let Sterling get a chance to recover to Sunday, that's what I'd be looking at. Plus Spurs have got their injuries as well, so I think we've got a chance.
Don't tease too much on that one.
That's what I've injured today.
I know. I prefer to be quietly confident. I don't say anything like that. It's one of these things, just because I know I'll say I'm really looking forward to this. I think we'll do really well and we'll get slapped 5-0 or something like that. So I'm not going to say anything. We all know how we felt a minute in against Liverpool when Arfield scored, and we know how we felt at the 90th minute. So that's all I'll say on a Premier League opposition in Europe. Just another name in that lineup today, who unfortunately will be without. Obviously we've mentioned Danny again. We're going to be without Danny on Thursday night, but also Yanis Hadji. Sheryl, I'm signed up as a lifetime member of the Hadji Appreciation Society. Because I just love him. There's nothing he can do that would disappoint me. Another hard-working performance from him today. Maybe not as his final ball as clinical as it was against Kilmarnock, but again, it's nice to have him back for what he provides a team. And Calvin mentioned how much movement there is amongst the players in our attacking kind of shape, and Yanis is one of those players that can pick up any position and look kind of natural in it. I think his two-footedness helps. But again, another 87 minutes I've got it down as today after these 2 assists against Kelly. One of these unfortunate things with the European team list you have to have published, and he wasn't even in the first team training yet at that point, so a big loss for Thursday.
Yeah, he's a huge loss, because for so long we've been looking for players or somebody that will just try things. Do you know what I mean? And he does that. He's not scared to try things. His link up with Igaman as well. Do you know, he just gives us so much. And I know a friend of mine, he drives one of my friends absolutely nuts for the amount of times that he loses the ball. But he's just not scared to get in there and try things. His assists as well so far have been huge. So he'll be a really big loss on Thursday night. Then we'll have him back for Sunday as well. But no, a huge loss, Andy, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's just a quick mention, and it's obviously not where we want to be, but today's win, again, closing the gap to second. It's a work in progress, 2 points the gap now on Aberdeen, and obviously them in first. Again, work to be done, but I'm sure I'm not the only one, and I'm certainly not going to be the only one that we're blue today that are feeling that. So let's leave the team to their work and see where we get to with some big games ahead, as we've said. Looking back now, Rangers this week put out on social media their goal of the month candidates. We'll have a quick discussion on that one. I think December's goal of the month will be a lot more options to choose from. Yeah, having 6 against Kelly. But we'll discuss the candidates that Rangers put up, and I'll get your picks then from both of you. Calvin, I've got the list down from Rangers that they put up themselves, unless you can think of anybody different that you want to bring up. Nadeem Barami's goal in the semi-final against Motherwell, a Czerny ball across and a far post finish. Cyril's nice drop of the shoulder and finish against Olympiacos. Dio's work rate and small dink. I try to think of the best way to nudge past the keeper against Nice, and Hamza Igaman's nice shift out his feet and far post finish. What goal would you award as your goal of the month?
I'm giving it Igaman, the one where he turned into prime R9. When he just hit the step over, put it through the defender's legs. He couldn't have done anything wrong that night, and that was a great round off for his performance. So that's the one for me.
Yeah, I think that performance as a whole needed some sort of award. I think the candidate for the goal of the month, and you're giving it the goal of the month yourself. Sheryl,
Right.
are you the same or are you different in your
I am
selection?
not. I am going for Diomande against Nice. I thought that was excellent, and I loved the so many people saying, "Oh, did he mean to do it?" Well, what else was he trying to do? Do you know what? I thought that was excellent. I know he's been a wee bit hot and cold last month, but I thought that was excellent. And again, to then get that second goal that then kind of pushed us on as well was crucial.
So one for Hamza, one for Dio. Again, I'll go through those lists. So Nadeem versus Motherwell, I think it was a big goal, obviously, in that game, which was well celebrated for myself when I was there. Cyril's lovely drop of the shoulder. I don't know what I'm more confused at, the fact that he's managed to pull it off, first of all, or the fact that the defender's bitten on a fake shot from outside the box. It was interesting. But a lovely finish there, so credit to Cyril. Dio's work rate, exceptional, and that's just what we know he can do. I just like to see it more from him. But my selection, I'm sorry, Sheryl, it's 2 to Hamza, 1 to Dio. It's because I've bought my ticket on the Dio and Danny hype train at the minute. I had to as part of the selection. I think I had it. I think I was busy at that point in the game. I was upstairs doing something, but I had it on my phone, and it was slightly behind downstairs. And I heard the reaction and went, "Oh, we've done something!" And boy, did we! It was a stunning finish. I love just one of those cushioned far corner finishes. But the lovely piece of skill beforehand is signed and sealed it for me. Hamza Igaman's goal versus Nice in the Europa League is my pick, Calvin's pick. I give that as, I don't want to brand it as the whole 4 lads goal of the month, because there's a lot more people in this channel who may say otherwise, and that's what we love about having these discussions. Keeping it to a kind of award then, shall we? We have deviated away from today's game, but let's go back to it. The 90 minutes as a whole, I thought was a good performance. We'll get into the manager's comments on the game and some maybe a hint to some other games and his thoughts on those. But Calvin, I'll come back to you quickly just before we get into those comments from the gaffer. If I were to push you to a man of the match for today, who would you give it to?
I think I've gone Dingwall. I think he influenced the game really well in the first half. He linked up play well with pretty much everybody. He took his chance, rode the luck, took it, and I think that was a big thing. So he got the second goal for us that kind of calmed everything down. So it's Dingwall for me.
Danny, number 99, gets Calvin's man of the match shout. Sheryl, where are you leaning for the man of the match?
I'm going with who I think I went with last Sunday as well, as John Souttar. I think again he just continues to look really, really assured. I don't know. Well, I was going to say I don't know if you remember it. You'll both remember it very clearly. Butland, I think it was around about the kind of 20-odd minute mark. Did one of these kind of prone to every so often, sort of dribbled with the ball, stumbled over it, but Souttar was just there to make sure that area was covered. I think Balogun as well. An honorary shout for Balogun as well. Those couple of challenges that he had in the first half, I thought he was excellent. I hope you don't mind, Andy. I'm going to touch on somebody who I think didn't have as great a game today, and that was Czerny. I thought he just had a wee bit of a stinker today, and I know players have them every so often. But what I thought was really quite important about that today was him having a poor game didn't have the same impact as it maybe would have had 2 or 3 weeks ago, because there was a time a few weeks ago where we were looking to him and him alone to be able to change the game or to be able to do something. He was that player for us that was capable of doing something. So him having as poor a game as he did today a few weeks ago, I think would have had a massive impact on the result of the game today. He just had a kind of bad day at the office. He was pretty poor by his standards, but I think the fact that it didn't tell as much as it would have done is a massive plus point, and it just shows you how that front four are working so hard and are interchangeable, and the difference it's making to us.
I have no issues with somebody having a bad day at the office when they've given me a body of work previously, which shows me what they can do. And I think I think Václav falls into that category. I think you're spot on. There was a major reliance on him in the last, just before we started to click as a forward unit, to find us a goal, to take on a man to set up an assist. You know, that killer pass, even the Bayrami goal of the month, as we mentioned. A nice switch ball across from Václav. So I am fully behind your opinion there. He had an off day, but in my books, he was maybe due one as a take your time off in lieu or something like that for his work effort, his work rate and efforts in previous games. John Shooter for yourself, Danny for Calvin. I would like to see people listening live, if you have picks similar to my two guests or different, by all means chuck them in the comments. I'd like to see your opinion on who you think was the star man for us today. It's nice having lots and lots of choices. I think even Kilmarnock, I sat in the supporters bus back to Paisley and I heard 7, 8, 9 different choices, which I think was always good to hear. And I think today, maybe not as many, but again, just didn't have to be star performance of everybody. Everybody did their job. So it's the outstanding candidates for me. I'm going to have to, again, pick Hamza. I love it a bits, and the moustache, I'm fully behind it. So he gets my man of the match vote. I really want there to not be a deflection on that shot. So I'm gonna even though I did say at the start I think it was a minor deflection, I'm gonna suspend that from my memory and say it was just a stunning finish off the boot and straight into the net. So Hamza gets my man of the match. Seeing some comments, obviously, Suter having a great spell from KW, similar to your opinion, Cheryl. It's good tackles from Balogun there. Yep, I think he again stunning performance from him. His tackles are perfect. Eggerman man of the match today from Paul. Yep. See, I think we're on the same wavelength, me and Paul there. But yes, I think that's a perfect way to round up the actual playing side of today's match. We'll get into what the gaffer had to say after the final whistle went. First of all, make sure you are watching the right press conference. Don't go on Twitter. Go through the correct channels. As I'm certain a few people maybe have got unfortunate clicks this afternoon. Make sure your volume's down, folks. But we'll go to the two sides of the coin. Calvin, I'm certain that we'll get into the discussion about maybe the comments that drew the ire of some of the Rangers faithful, but we'll start with, I think, a positive note, because there was times where I've heard him say the words that he did say. I think some games, I don't want to say he sees games differently to the way I see it, but just minorly differences, I'm going to say. He was quick to say he was happy with the dominance that we showed. I think a 3-0 was a good scoreline, and I think you can argue dominance. Again, I don't think we were, apart from maybe one or two, Jack Butland misplacing the ball in his stands early in the game. But are you happy with that word being used? Because I'd say 6-0, Kelly, definitely you can use that word, that's fine. I think it was the games beforehand, I might say it was maybe Hearts where he said dominance, and it's like, I get there was a lot of the ball, but we didn't do too much with it, so I wouldn't have classed it as dominance. But again, that's just two different takes of what he sees as dominance, what I see as dominance. But I think it was probably a fair assessment today.
Yeah, much better news today. I think biggest thing, we were comfortable. No, we never really looked troubled. They had the one shot in the first half that took the wee deflection and it was tipped wide. Obviously, the one where Butland nearly repeated what their keeper was doing. But other than that, they didn't really cause us too much. We were in control of the ball. We were making the right moves. We were creating chances. So you can get away with his dominance this time.
I've got it down as 67% to 33 in Rangers' favour for possession, which I know is the big thing for the gaffer. He likes our time with the ball. An XG of 1.53, 19 total shots with 9 on target, which was 10 total shots for County and 2 on target. Again, if it was just a 1-0 game like it was the previous time he'd mentioned it, I think I will need to look back. I think it was Hearts, but he'd mentioned it and I thought we're just not agreeing on the same thing. I think he's right in his assessment today.
Yeah, I think so. I think we looked very comfortable, aside from maybe that wee patch after the goal. But again, it wasn't that we looked uncomfortable. It's just that Ross County grew into it a wee bit more after we had that really, really good start. But no, I think I agree with him, actually. We looked comfortable. They didn't really trouble us. And even, Butland had a good couple of saves. But even at that, to me, it never ever really looked like we were in any kind of trouble during that game.
Calvin, I'll go back to another mention what he said in the press conference. He was happy with the maturity across the squad. I read that as a mention to the fact we kept it at 3-0 and there was no turn-offs in concentration late in the game, or when we bring on subs, it was the level stayed where the level needed to be, and we got to the 90 with that 3-0 and kept the clean sheet. Are you in that kind of similar vein of thought with the maturity levels in that team across the starting 11 and the subs that came on?
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest thing. A lot of times this year, a lot of players don't look like they know their job. Whereas today, you start on 11, knew exactly what they were asked to do. Players that came on did the exact same. And that's maybe is finally getting these tactics across to the players. So hopefully that's the signs of things to come.
Sheryl, again, just as I said, the starting 11 and then the subs that came on, the bench did have Dujon Sterling, Nadeem Bayrami, Mohamed Diamande, Cyril Dessers, Kieran Dill, Liam Kelly, obviously as a keeper, Ridvan Yilmaz, Robin Proper and Ross McCausland on the bench. When we've had injury issues, the bench becomes the youth academy at times. I think you look at the bench and you do see, Bailey Rice, Zach Lovelace when he's fit. It's probably about as strong a bench as I've seen this season, to be honest. And I think that obviously aids to that. The 90-minute performance as a whole with the maturity, you can bring on Dujon, can bring on Nadeem, obviously a relatively new face to the team, but trusted by the manager. Dio and Cyril. I'm not going to mention Kieran Dow because you do not want me to mention Kieran Dow, just for the sake of we're in a positive mindset now. But having those names on the bench certainly helps your case when you're starting to look at the legs on the park and who do we then bring on for that player. It's a nice backup to have.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Andy, but being able to have that wee bit more depth, but also being able to have those subs that you can bring on, excuse me, and they're actually making a contribution. Somebody you missed out as well that I thought's done relatively well since they've come on as well has been Ridvan, since we've got him back fit. I think that he's done well when he's come on as well. But again, just to have that depth and have subs that are actually making a positive contribution, that we're making for a reason, because we've got a game plan. And I don't know if it was yourself, Calvin, or Andy, that said they come on and they know what they're meant to be doing, rather than kind of, right, you can go on, cross your fingers, we'll fire you in, whatever, that kind of round square pegs into round holes. We've got subs that are coming on with a clear game plan, and they know what they're meant to be doing, and they actually are effective when they come on as well. So I think that's made a huge difference.
So there's your positive side of the manager's comments after the game. Let's get on to the more outside of the box thinking. Out of the box thinking from the gaffer. You know the reasons why he said it. Obviously, mentioning his comments on the next two games and how we can't compete with the opposition financially. Calvin, again, it's another one of these post-match press conferences where it sparks debate amongst the Rangers support. I am a believer in Clement. I'm happy. I'm drawn into him. I believe in what he says. I find it quite easy to see his line of thinking in certain things he says. But it's not exactly something you want to hear when the second game in that is your closest rivals. I think it, to me, I'm okay with what he says in terms of the Spurs one. That makes sense to me. You're talking about a team that's, you know, a top percentile team in the Premier League. With I get it. It doesn't need much explaining. You know, a team with their budget, team with their stature, team with the league they play in, all and it's what comes with playing in the Premier League financially. It makes sense. Whether or not you can continue to follow that vein of thinking into the second team, obviously being Celtic, our biggest rivals. How do you feel when you hear the manager say that?
I was more disappointed just because of what he said at the AGM, how if the day that we stop thinking we can win, you lose our DNA essentially. So he shouldn't have said it that way. There's much better ways to put it across. He should have just put it out as the players have put in good performances now. Things are starting to build up together. We look forward. I'm sure the boys will deliver. Just keep it positive. There was no need to throw that wee negative in because it's like you're putting an excuse out already.
I think back, Cheryl, I think it was a lot. I want to say back to when it was Gio and it was the head of the Liverpool game. Or it was just after the Liverpool game, I think it was. His immediate reaction was it's the financial aspect, the difference between Liverpool and Rangers. And I think this was after or shortly before not a brilliant result against Livingston, where there was a lot of fingers pointed at Rangers and laughs had on the same debate can be said to Rangers compared to Livingston. It's one of these comments where it's an eye opener in terms of the Spurs game, but it's a kind of you can see it as you see it in a number of ways where it could be a dose of reality in some line of thinking, or it could be bang out of order. It can depends on where you sit on where we are and obviously where Celtic are and what they are doing at the moment. What was your immediate reaction to the Clement comment?
Actually, I'm probably somewhere in the middle, Andy. I agree with Calvin. I don't think he needed to say it. I think it was a bit daft, but I can't get myself as worked up about it as I've seen some people on social media kind of losing the plot with it. I think it's something that I'd imagine he will revisit probably in his press conferences next week, and he'll maybe talk around it and kind of correct himself on it slightly. I don't think I've seen elsewhere people saying, is it a language thing? I don't think it is a language thing. I don't think we can use that as an excuse for him. I just think it was something daft that he said, and I think it's hacked a lot of people off, and I understand why it has. On the whole, I'm going to be quite positive. I think we're making progress. And like you, and I know we're maybe in the minority, Andy, I still have that belief in him. I think it's a longer term thing that he's doing. I completely understand why a lot of people haven't, and a lot of people are kind of now, no, that's it done. They've had enough of him. But I think on the whole, we've had a positive couple of weeks. We've had some really, really good performances, and that's bottom a wee bit of leeway with me. I just can't get as annoyed about it as everybody else seems to be, as much as I do agree. Yeah, it was a stupid thing to say. It was needless. He just didn't need to say it.
Yeah,
Not in relation to Celtic anyway, sorry. Certainly with Spurs, yeah, absolutely. I think we're all kind of viewing that, though, as a wee bit of a free hit, because we're in this excellent position where we've all kind of fingers crossed, we're in a really, really good place to move forward in the Europa League. But I think, yeah, in relation to Spurs, fine, but no, otherwise it was a bit daft.
I would like to state, just in case anyone thinks differently, I said last year, this is your good example of it. I said last year on the way to Easter Road, for I'm going to say quarter final. It was maybe in the League Cup at that point. And this could be clipped up, so do whatever you want with it. I said if Clement were to stay at Rangers long term, we could be a team that contends in Europe for the Europa League. On the back of I think we can go far because this team in Europe, the way we played at that point in time, I think this was on the back of the 11 wins in a row. And going into Benfica, I want to say I didn't think that it was going to be that season, obviously, because there's a lot of work to do. But given his body of work that season, I was very, very much on the Clement hype train. I still think he is a smart man. I think tactically, him and his team, when they can get their heads together, can do great things with our club. And I admit it's a long-term project, but I'm happy to have him at the helm of it. He did say, and I give you the quote, of course, they are totally different kinds of games. Maybe we need to say we're financially out of our league in the two games, but we are going to compete. That's what I want to hear. We're going to compete. We're going to give it our all. Because that's what annoyed me the most about sections of the support this season. I know it never looked good at the start, but I think we gave up. I think people have pulled them up on it. I think you gave up, and I don't deal with that. Give up when it's mathematically impossible. That's where I stand on it, because our club, of all clubs, should know until the final whistle goes, there's always a chance. I don't need to mention Helicopter Sunday because there's a song about it that we sing 8,000 times in a game, folks. So there you go. That's where I stand on this whole thing. So put it to bed. I am well and truly behind the gaffer. That being said, obviously those two games are massive. The Europa League, which is I will say again, we cannot write anything off for this team, this Rangers team, and the teams that Clement had last season as well. In Europe, we're a different animal. Calvin, you mentioned earlier, Spurs picking up a couple of injuries, the manager's under a bit of pressure. It's a good test, I think. I find it'll be interesting to see where the manager lies on his team selection. I think that'll be the big thing, is how much is he putting into it himself. He says we're going to compete. What do you mean by that? Because, like it or not, if it wasn't Celtic on Sunday, I could see him having a go at Spurs, but it is Celtic on Sunday. So it's about drawing that fine line of how much are we putting into it. I think that'll be a question we see answered when that team sheet comes out on Thursday night, Calvin.
Yeah, I think you'll go back to his usual European formation. Obviously, the squad registration plays a part in that. We know we can't get Hadji in. So I do think it would just go back to his usual kind of formation. Probably Diamande in at the 10. Will he go with Dessers? Will he go with Eggman? Let's hope it goes with Eggman, because we know how much he can influence a game like that. Puts defenders under pressure, and as we noticed today, 2 defenders went off injured for Spurs, and Ben Davies was already out of the picture for them. So not going to say it, but I feel like we've got a chance. We always give ourselves a chance in Europe.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I need to emphasise. It's a game of football. It's 90 minutes. Things happen on the 90 minutes. It doesn't matter how much you prepare for it. Things don't go to plan. It's something always you can always plan for a boxing match until you get hit, and then it goes all your game plan goes out the window. In Europe, Sheryl, it's a platform for us to go and perform, because as we know, it's two different beasts playing in Scotland against Ross County, to playing Spurs, a Bucharest, a Nice, a Lyon, and these Thursday night football matches where two teams want to go and win, whereas Scotland, as we've seen, a point for some teams is good enough as a successful weekend. I think both teams will be more than happy to go for it. I think Ange, and I'm not going to say too much about him, but you don't need to look too far when you see the way that Spurs fans react to him at the moment. He'll have no excuse but to try and put on a show for the Spurs fans, and we'll have no excuse because we're at home, and we need to go and show that we're willing to fight. It's the non-negotiables about playing for this club, pulling on that jersey. I think it'll be a rather tasty affair, but I'm nowhere near ready to put a prediction on it, Cheryl, are you? You're on mute, Cheryl. You're on mute. Still on mute, Cheryl.
I said really, really interesting and out there and sensible stuff while I was on mute, and you've now missed it. So I'm just going to have to go with my usual rubbish, I'm afraid. A prediction, I don't know, because they're so difficult in Europe. They play with that kind of freedom, don't they? They seem to play with that freedom. I'm wondering if we'll maybe see Proper back in there. I think he's been really, really poor domestically. We know that. We know that he can't deal with the physicality of the Scottish League. I don't know if we'll maybe see him back in there. I think we mentioned it earlier, maybe resting Balogun for Sunday. And that wouldn't bother me as much as long as we've got Balogun free for Sunday, because I think we do have to look at it with one eye to the bigger game on the Sunday as well, because this is a wee bit of a free hit. I think maybe a wee 3-1 loss at home. Sorry.
I've seen Calvin's face just in the background there. I've been interested. I know. Come on, Calvin. We just had one prediction. Don't sit in the fence for me, mate. Come on, give me a prediction. I don't care about, again. I don't care how you can say 8-0 to Rangers and I'll accept it, just because I like to hear an opinion. So
2-1 Rangers.
2-1.
2-1. I think there'll be goals. Both teams will attack. There'll be space for us to get in behind, and let's just hope we're solid at the back.
I'm going to sit in the fence, folks. This is the perfect position to be host. You get everybody else to say their prediction, and then you can sit in the fence. It's weird because even saying what I'm about to say is optimistic, and also, you know, I was going to say a 1 each. I'd take a 1 each. I'd a massive point. I think you look at where we are in the table in the Europa League. I think we're in a real good position. I think we've still got USG to play later on, which I think, off of recent history, although I think they beat us in Belgium at Ibrox, I think we just looked comfortable that night and really put them back in their place. So it'd be interesting to see if we can maybe take a point against Spurs. Man United are in the same boat with shaky under the new management, but that's a lot further down the road than a trip to Old Trafford. But I'm going to say a 1 each because I would take a point against Spurs. But I've seen a lot of people mentioning that if we could win against Spurs, the sacked in the morning shout towards Ange would be nice. But who knows? Who knows? A lot of days to go until Thursday, and during that time is tomorrow's flagship show, folks. So if you'd like to hear some more from Rangers fans and their opinion on how the weekend was, and hear what they think about Thursday and beyond, be sure to tune in tomorrow for that Monday flagship show. I think that'll wrap us up for the evening. We've had some good points said, some controversial points from myself, mentioning I did say last year that I think the Gaffer would win a Europa League title. Just in case you forgot, in case you want to record it and clip it up, go for it. But yeah, I think that's a good point for us to close tonight on. I'd like to thank my guests this evening, as always, the two Sunday show regulars back on. Firstly, Calvin, my man, thank you for coming on this evening.
All aboard the man train.
He's got his ticket stamped. He's ready to go, and I'll be next to you, mate. I'm on that train as well, pal. No bother at all there. And finally, Sheryl, thank you for coming on as always.
I'll see you this time next week.
Don't say that. No, we will. We don't hide. So yep, you'll see us back. Not too distant future on the channel. If you would like to be notified on that, obviously, maybe like and subscribe. Go for it. Why not? So yeah, that'd be great. Lastly, before I close up again, bottom of your screen, a very, very gracious sponsor for the season: Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, Black Rooster, and Art of Gold. Thank you very much again for your support. That'll wrap us up, folks. Thank you for joining me this evening. I've been Andrew Stewart with my two brilliant guests as always. See you back on the channel very soon. Good evening and good night.
Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, along with Art of Gold. Thank you for listening or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.